Hello, Facebook Live and YouTube streaming. Welcome to Wine Cellars Wine Wednesday. My name is Lee Schlesinger. I am the Vice President of Portfolio Management and Education here at Wine Cellars, and I am coming at you live from Chicago. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I see a few people coming online. We've had about 20 or 22 of these tastings, somewhere in that number, and tonight is our last one that we have together on our national calendar. So I wanted to drop a little bit of information here on some people with regard to how to keep up with us. If you enjoyed these, hopefully you have. I know we've got some Wine Cellars wine groupies that would love to keep up with us. I want to give you a couple of links so that you can keep up with us. So I'm going to pull in just some images here just so you guys can see how to keep up with Wine Cellars on social media. This is obviously our company, Wine Cellars Limited, founded in 1977. Our website is very functional, useful there, winecellarsltd.com. You've probably found us on Facebook, either through our Facebook page here at Wine Cellars Ltd, or the Facebook group, which was our virtual tasting group, which is listed there. And of course, our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter handles are the same at Wine Cellars Ltd. We are extremely active on social media, so please do keep up with us, and we appreciate you joining us. Today, we are going to go to Italy, and we are going to explore the wines of Tiamo with Charlie and Mel Master. What kind of differentiates this brand is we have only organic product in the bottle or the can or the keg, and we have a lot of different formats. So kind of classic regions, classic wines brought to you in an accessible multitude of styles. So without much further ado, I want to get to the men of the hour here, Mr. Charlie Master and his father, Mel Master. And let's start talking about some organic Italian wines and how this came about. Yes, Lucy, thanks for joining us. We saved the best for last, so let's get these guys on screen now. Charlie and Mel Master, how you guys doing tonight?
Good. How are you, Lee? And Lucy, it's so good to see you here again today. Thank you. Tiamo, everybody.
Buonasera. I'm speaking to you from the vineyards of Sicily, as you can see from the background.
You have a very Godfather look to you tonight.
Very.
What do?
Is muy molto bad.
Molto bene.
Ferrari lasagna.
So, guys, we have talked about Tortoise Creek. You guys were on to talk about Tortoise Creek, which I think is one of your older projects in terms of chronology. And we've talked about some of our other projects, Les Charmel, which kind of originated out of that. Can you tell us a little bit about the idea behind Tiamo and the origins there?
Well, I think...
Sorry, go ahead. I'll do this because then I'm going to get off and leave the stage to Charlie. But just to give you a little background, so Janie and I really fell in love with a wine called Spritz Salentino, imported by a buddy of mine called Neil Empson. And this was back in, I guess, the mid-90s. And so we decided we'd go to Puglia, where the wine comes from, and we'd look around for wines down there. And we sourced a wine that was just a red blend, which was Sangiovese from Puglia. We bottled it up in Treviso. And that's actually was the beginning of Tiamo. Then when we became partners with Jordan and Adam Sager and the Wine Cellars, and Charlie and I, the four of us decided that it made much more sense for us to maybe make this an organic line of wines. So we started sourcing wines from looking for winemakers that were growing grapes, winemakers and grape growers that were doing organic farming, and we put together the blend from there. So, Charlie, take it from there.
Well, the actual initial visits that we had in Italy were extremely amusing, thanks to my amazing mother. And we went through and tasted with about 22 small farmers, all organic in different areas of Italy. All of these guys and girls that we tasted with are big, huge farmers. Most of the men had big beards, were 300 pounds. And my father and I thought the word Tiamo meant I love it. So as we're swirling our wine and tasting the wines, these incredibly impressive, great quality, organically grown grape wines, we'd smell them and we'd touch the guys on the shoulder and say Tiamo, thinking we're saying we love it. Well, it so happens that actually doesn't mean I love it. And we waited another 4 days before my mother actually said to us, boys, do you know that you're telling all these men you're in love with them, right? And my father looked at me and said, Charles, Tiamo. We should call the wines Tiamo. It means I love you. This is perfect. So that's kind of where the name Tiamo came about.
And it makes sense because not only you've got family love here, you love the wines, but you're also doing something for the environment in terms of loving Mother Nature and having organic products. So it all works in one big circle for me.
Very much so. That was a big part of the concept. Thanks to Adam, who actually was one of the people that said we need to do this organically. He just had
that's exactly right. You know, it's funny. We had when we first were doing this together, we became partners. Adam called me up or sent me an email and said, you know, I'm buying, I don't know, she was buying baby food, I think, for the kid, for his baby, diapers. That was it. He was buying diapers, and he saw this organic wine in the shelf of the supermarket that he was in, and he said, hey, let's make Tiamo organic. So that's how it started. But I'll tell you what, ever since then, I mean, much of our philosophy is with all our wines, with Tortoise Creek, which is all sustainable, and all our Chemin wines, we try to always work with eco-friendly winemakers and farmers, and sustainability and organic as being a big part of our entire portfolio of what we do and our philosophy.
Yeah, almost all the wines that we make are farms that are, you know, focused on the soil. They've been making these type of wines for in most cases generations and generations, and selling a majority of these wines to the local restaurants which sell the wine. So this is a great opportunity for us. When we first tried some of these wines, we were absolutely blown away by the great quality of some of these wines that at that point hadn't really been in America. So it made it very exciting for us to be representing these wonderful, passionate small farms all over Italy.
Well, I think it makes a difference that you're working directly with a farmer rather than some industrial producer.
Correct.
It also speaks to the integrity and honesty of the wines as well. So I think it all makes sense, and it fits into the general master wines concept for sure.
There's a lot of great people involved as well.
Really wonderful friendship with these people. And it's just like anything else. Like, you know, I guess if you're when you buy beef or fish or vegetables, you learn to buy from the people you really can rely upon, and you know whose passion is the same as yours, and you know you work with those people to make the best things you can. So that's what's happened with us, with Tiamo.
Shall we maybe jet off and take a look at Italy and see some images and taste a little bit?
We want to say Tiamo to you.
Yes, Tiamo, everybody. I love you.
Tiamo to Mom as well.
Okay, guys. I love you guys. Thank
you for joining, Mel.
Well, let's get some wine in our glass now that the parents are out of the picture.
Yeah, now that we got rid of the old folks, let's have some fun. You know, I think we wanted to taste in this kind of order. I always tell people, you know, if you're a real wine geek, you probably don't want to taste this first. But if philosophically for me, you always start with some sparkling wine. It's a great way to start.
Refreshes the palate perfectly. And this particular Prosecco is from the village of Valdobbiadene, which is one of the most prestigious wine growing regions in Italy. For Prosecco, which is actually the name of the grape, but it's actually also called Glera, It was known as Prosecco for many years. And this is a organically grown Galera from Val d'Orbiadene. And this is a wine that we handpick these grapes. They actually sit for about 10 days and macerate before we start the fermentation. And the secondary fermentation, which is actually 45 days long, and it's called the Cremant, which is they're actually fermenting a second fermentation in the actual vat. And so the bubbles that you have are much finer. So it's not as bubbly as, for example, champagne or cava. It actually has much more delicate bubbles, which also makes it a lot easier to drink and a lot more complementary to food.
Yeah, we're talking about the Charmant method.
Yes.
So, or tank method for those people that don't want to attempt such a word. Let's take a look at where we are and where we are in northeastern Italy. So let's pull the presentation in here real quick and take a peek at some images that will help demonstrate what we're talking about. So we talked a little bit about Tiamo background. We're going to take you up to the Veneto up here in northeastern Italy.
It's about an hour north of Venice, that region, where these wines are.
And let's just pop over here and take a look at. We'll taste the prosecco, and then we'll go back and talk a little bit about some background and some other things. But let's get some wine in people's glasses. And here is that zoom in on Venice, and Val d'Orbiadene, you can see, is up here.
It's about an hour north there, yeah, right at the base of the Dolomite Mountains.
Yeah, you can actually see if you look at a topographical map, which I was looking at. Maybe I had a topographical map I was looking at earlier, and it certainly showed that Val d'Orbiadene is right on the hillsides, whereas when we come down the Piave River and come into the flatlands down here, it's a different climate and different terroir. So specifically, Val d'Orbiadene has a region that is also DOCG, which is the highest level. So this is a region that is producing the best quality Prosecco from those Glera grapes you mentioned.
Yeah, and this has a wonderful, delicate nose. You can smell a little bit of pears. I often smell a little bit of white flour in this wine. There's a little bit of citrus peel, like lime or lemon, but it's just very, very cleansing and palatable. It goes with lots of different types of food. I mean, you could have this with pretty much breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It goes with every single type of food. And it's also, like Lee said at the beginning, this is a perfect wine to cleanse your palate to start a tasting. It's just very versatile.
Totally agreed. And the style, they make it just like other sparkling wine. They make it in different styles, meaning different sweetness levels. And here we're at a kind of the dry side of extra dry. So it's not sweet. It's just off dry. But I don't really get this perception of sweetness to the wine. It really just adds a little bit more texture and enhances that kind of pear. A lot of pear note in here today for me.
Lots of pears and a little bit of white peach as well. And you'll notice this wine has less than 10 grams of sugar per liter. So it's not your atypical. Some Proseccos have over 20 grams of sugar. And so it's a little bit more food friendly because of that. And of course, because of that, it's also better for your body. Yeah,
a little less sugar doesn't hurt, right?
No.
And we're talking about grams per liter, of course, in there, not total grams that you're consuming in a glass for those people out there. So let's take a look at where we are. So we showed you where Venice was and Val d'Orbiadene here. And this region, I think that shaded region is actually where you can produce DOCG wine.
Yes, and we actually blend our a couple of different vineyards together, which is why we don't have the DOCG. We only have the DOC.
And here's some jaw-dropping landscape here.
I just want to talk about that for a minute, because in this picture, it's absolutely incredible, because you not only have these wonderful hills, but you have this wonderful moisture that comes in the mornings. You have quite warm afternoons, and so this area is absolutely perfect for growing Glera or Prosecco.
Yeah, and it looks like they probably have them south-facing so that they catch more rays. on these slopes rather than the north side of the hill, which probably is a little cooler and less sun. And they're protected probably from the coolness that comes down from the mountains by being on that southern exposure.
Yeah.
So a really good, cool piece of terroir right in the foothills of the Dolomites, as you mentioned. It's really dramatic.
It is. Beautiful area. Highly recommend visiting there if you have time.
Yeah, looks like we misspelled Valdobbiadene. No, that's correct. No problem. And here's Jack Nicholson in the vineyards.
You can tell that was actually in fall. It was actually December, I believe. So that is the actual vineyard where we grow our Galera. You can see, it's very important. You can't really see very well in this picture, but there's trees in the vineyards there, and every aspect of the vineyard is very important. You have vegetation between the rows of vines and certain trees in the vineyards that are all attracting certain types of insects and other plants that actually harmonize with Mother Nature to make the plant really grow perfectly, which is why organic produce, I think, is more sought after by chefs than regular produce, because you can taste so much more of the characteristics of the varietal if there is no manipulation by chemicals and pesticides by man.
Yeah, I think when you start using those things that kill everything, whether it's pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides, you're basically sterilizing the land and you're getting a very sterile product from that land. So organics for me are allowing you to keep that vivacity in the soil, in the environment, and therefore allowing the grapes to really express what's in the ground and what's in the air and what's around it.
That's very important. I also want to mention too that there's quite a few products out there that they add quite a bit of sugar to. And when you add sugar or residual sugar to a wine, you have to add sulfur because it becomes unstable. And when you start doing all these things, it makes the wine a little bit less stable. So the quality and the headache that you get can be a little bit more severe. So it's very important, I think, to stick to wines that don't have a lot of manipulation. And we're very purist when it comes to a lot of the winemaking that we do with all of the different areas that we make wine.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. A lot of people ask about sulfites, and somewhat controversial because sulfites are really everywhere, but nobody wants to consume a large amount of sulfites, no matter how benign you think they may be. But what's interesting about organic wine is that the level of sulfites allowed is about half generally what conventional wines have in them. So when you find wine that says made with organic grapes, that has generally no more than 100 parts per million, which is, again, about half of what conventional wines have.
And also, for those of you who don't know about orange juice, there's probably about 10 times more sulfites in orange juice than there is in some wines. So that's a good thing to know. If you're getting a headache from wine, you probably drink more water when you're drinking wine.
So let's move back, and I think we skipped over a couple of interesting things here and talk about some personalities involved and kind of how you guys fell in love with Italy. We know the Les Charmel story because we were with you guys a couple weeks ago when we did the Les Charmel thing, and I think we kind of touched upon that. But some people that are influential for you guys, or at least inspirational here.
Harry Cipriani. I mean, this is one of the mega food and wine lovers, and wonderful. He's like the Pope of food and wine in Italy, and he's got restaurants all over the world. And my father had restaurants in the 80s with Jonathan Waxman, a restaurant called Jams, and we opened that up around the same era as Harry Cipriani opened his restaurant on Fifth Avenue, and I think it was 62nd Street on Fifth Avenue, right overlooking the park. And of course, we met him several times, and this is me and my mother and my father with Harry Cipriani. Of course, his son is an Iron Chef. And this is us at Cipriani's in Venice, right after we did the actual blend for the 2017 vintage a couple of years back. That's amazing guy. Some of the best type of food. I mean, he has focused on simplicity and using the best ingredients, which just like here, the farm to table movement is something that has happened, hundreds of years ago in Italy, where they only use stuff from within 200 miles of where the restaurant is. And so, maybe sugar, there's one or two things that they might use that's not from 200 miles around the restaurant, but they're very passionate about that. And that goes into what we were talking about, eco farming and organic farming and sustainability and all that stuff takes a big role. I mean, his most popular dish is a very simple fettuccine with a cheese sauce and ham, and it's pure and simple. I mean, who doesn't like cheese, ham, and pasta? I mean, seriously.
Making me hungry already. So we've got food inspiration, of course, Janie being a chef and you guys and us all being in the food and beverage industry. We say we're in the wine business, but I really say we're in food and beverage, right?
Yep. Fuel of life business.
And you can't say I'm in the wine industry without saying that I have a very strong connection to the food industry, because wine and food are the 1 + 1 = 3 kind of concept.
Very true. Very true.
All right. So let's get to an influential guy, somebody that we work with closely.
Carlo, very, very passionate man. Obviously generations of passion here. This man has been a great influence in our wines. This is actually a connection that Adam Sager found for us. And this is him actually in the vineyards. I believe that is in
Chianti, I think.
I think it is. That it is Chianti, yeah. Close to the town that we make it in. Yeah, that is actually it. That's and he is, you can tell from the passion of when he's looking on the left there at that grape. This is him, managing, his passion. He looks at everything that goes through his hands. It's so important to him. And I love the fact that he's so hands-on with everything he does, which is why we love working with these people.
A great business partner as well. So somebody dedicated to quality, working with small farmers, really dedicated towards organic farmers as well, and a great business partner. So, all right. I think that
Carlo, if you're out there. So look at all these formats. We have so many different ways that you can actually enjoy organic wine here. So if you can see, we've got like Pinot Grigio and Chianti and Prosecco and Barbera, all in regular bottles, but we also have keg wine for those people, especially right now with the pandemic, that want to throw house parties. This is perfect for that.
It's also safer for restaurants to handle.
Exactly. Better for wine costs, pour costs.
And the other thing is a smaller carbon footprint on this type of format, so it's more environmentally friendly as well.
Exactly, and also cans. I mean, there's lots of situations I find myself in because I love, swimming and biking and hiking, that you can find yourself like wanting to enjoy some wine without worrying about the glass and the heaviness of the glass and the breaking of the bottle. And
didn't you say that you enjoyed these cans when you were skydiving?
Skydiving. It's a perfect way to take off the edge when you're terrified about jumping out of an airplane.
Well, let's pop out and I'll show some people. I went and pilfered the wine cellar's sample room so that I could show people some of these things. So, Charlie, I'm going to pop me into the big picture. You'll still be able to talk.
Dude, I can't wait. Yeah.
So we kind of didn't really show the beautiful Tiamo. The sunflower is kind of our classic, iconic symbol for the brand, which is kind of replicated twice on the label.
It's also a symbol for natural wine or organic wine. So yeah,
absolutely. And then the 187. So we have little guys too.
Look how cute those are, people. Seriously, you could probably fit like 8 of those in your man bag, right? In your purse.
So we've got small formats on the Prosecco, which is also great for on-premise.
Those are too easy to open.
For restaurants, it's great for them as single serving. It's safer, it's easier. It's also great, obviously, as you say, portability, as well as serving size in case we just want an itty-bitty one for breakfast, Of course, we have our cans. They're half bottles, so don't treat them like Miller Lights and pound 3 of them on the beach, because you will not leave the beach in one condition. But we have organic Pinot Grigio, an organic rosé, as well as organic red blend. So lots of formats, lots of ways to enjoy Tiamo organic, different formats. All right, Charlie, you ready to taste some Pinot Grigio?
Yeah, let's get the Pinot Grigio out here. I love this.
Actually, hold on. Let's see. We've got a question from Lucy here before we jump into that. Lucy wants to know, will the red can ever come in a bottle in the future?
It will not. No.
Probably not. We have a special blend on that. It's Syrah and Primitivo and Sangiovese, I think.
Yeah.
And really what we focus on the 750s are monovarietals or regionally specific things. We've decided to put this particular blend in the can because there's not a lot of really super dry or super serious or super structured wines that are in a can, and I don't know that that's what the consumer's expecting. The other problem is you can't put Chianti in a can or a keg. So we're limited in terms of regions, as well as maybe varietals. So this is kind of a special blend that we decided that would be a little softer and easier to put in a can and the consumer to enjoy.
And again, these cans are a lot, drier in style, which we like. We like they're much better with food. There's less sugar. And so these wines won't be those kind of fruit bombs that you can often find in cans in the market.
It's definitely real wine. It's it's real wine for sure. It's just a little juicier, I would think, than maybe some of the other wines.
Definitely.
All right, let's stay in the Veneto and pop our presentation back in here and show people where San Polo di Piave is.
San Polo di Piave. An amazing little 30-acre vineyard that we have here. This is actually wonderful partners of us. They have been producing wine for generations, obviously organically. And so this is soil that my daughter's daughter and son can grow grapes in, hopefully, because of the quality of the soil. Really keeping in sync with that. These are actually in between Venice and Treviso. So the area is just below on that map there of Treviso. The vineyards are right around there.
Yeah, they're right around the O of Treviso, I think. So the Piave River, which is what this place is named after, runs through Valdobbiadene and runs down through here and actually pops out just above Venice over here somewhere. So you're just moving from these hillsides into slightly more flat land, so you get these alluvial soils and maybe a little bit warmer temperatures because of lower altitude. And so maybe not hot temperatures, but maybe just a little bit warmer, so you can work your way into some white wine and get it to about 12.5 or 13% alcohol.
And that sandstone and clay that's in most of these vineyards was brought there by that river. And so that's been bringing nutrients from the northern part of Italy for years and years. So this is one of the reasons why these wines are so much more fruit forward in a way, because I think a lot of Pinot Grigios nowadays tend to be a little bit mundane. There's some amazing ones out there, but we try to really focus on the grape and showing off the actual characteristics of the terroir or the earth that the grape was grown in, because that grape is a vehicle to show off the characteristics of the soil that it's grown in. So I think it's very important to note that, because there's one of the reasons that these wines can be a little bit more unctuous. And there's, for me, in this Pinot Grigio, there's a lot of pears. They do have a little bit of lime zest. These wonderful notes that you can smell, but then when you taste it, it doesn't have this like real bitter twing of acidity. It's got great balance with perfect acidities, and it just really complements a lot of different flavors of food. It's also a great wine to drink, as an aperitif before you're actually consuming food.
Perfect aperitif with maybe lighter cuisine, or maybe some cheeses or salty little snacks to whet your appetite for sure. I find a lot of, I call it Italian Pinot Grigio from the Veneto, the Bud Light of the wine world. It seems to be very popular because of the same reasons that Bud Light is popular. It doesn't have a lot of flavor and it tastes good when it's cold. Now, that's not obviously all Pinot Grigio, and that's not what we're talking about here, but a lot of affordable Pinot Grigio, and we're talking $12 or $13 on the Tiamo. A lot of stuff around that price point tastes like kind of like lemony acid water. And here I think we have a little bit more body and more ripe fruit, and a little less biting lemon acidity to it. It's a little more, as you said, lime, which for me is a slightly riper profile maybe than lemon.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention a drink that we created at several different events that we did back before the pandemic, where we mixed about 4 ounces of our Tiamo Prosecco with 2 ounces of Tiamo Pinot Grigio with 1 ounce of limoncello. And if you throw a handful of ice in there, that is the perfect summertime Italian sangria to enjoy with pretty much every meal.
Wow. On the beach, my friend.
Right?
Let's meet on the beach. I like it. For those of you interested, we'll put the recipe up on the Tiamo website, right?
Definitely.
Right, my friend. Chef at it again. Anything else we want to talk about before Pinot? I mean, we're starting to rip through this a little bit. I mean, we've got another red, and then we've got a couple of special things to taste at the end, but I want to make sure that we haven't missed anything before we move on to the red wine.
No, but I do love this picture because you can actually see, this sandstone, the terroir in this area is very important. And I don't know if you can really notice, but you don't see really dirt tracks between these rows of vines. You see lots of grass. And that's a good sign that these are organic vineyards. There are different species of grasses and herbs that grow in between these rows of vines that are very important for what is going on in that vineyard. And it's very, very important to also note this area and the sun exposure of this area of Italy is very important to the production of wine as well.
Yeah, huge area for producing wine. And you can just see that we went maybe 25 miles from Valdobbiadene to here, maybe 30 miles. And look at how different it looks in terms of topography.
Yeah.
And that, this makes a huge difference in terms of what we're doing, what we're growing. And through thousands of years, likely, we've evolved into where we are today because certain grapes thrive under certain conditions in certain places. And we've learned from these generations that this is a great place for Pinot Grigio, and that's a great place for Glera. And the two are dramatically different just with 2 pictures, right?
Very much so.
All right, my friend. Let's move on, and we'll head down to near Rome, north of Rome, to Tuscany. Tell us a little bit about Tuscany and what you think about the wines and maybe the region and the grape varieties, because if you let me talk, we will be here until tomorrow.
So Montespertoli is an amazing town. This is actually quite close to Venice. I mean, quite close to Firenze or Florence. You can see it there on the map to the right, which is, I think, by far for me, one of the most beautiful towns to visit in Italy. But they are incredible soils. So this is an area that has this wonderful, like fossilized sea fossils from thousands and thousands of years old, mixed with the clay and the chalk and all the other stuff that's in the soil. So this is one of the reasons that Chianti is such a real special wine. And I think for me and my father, Chianti tended to taste a lot, very much earthy. And, you've got this, like dried rose petals and dried leaves and cedar and, plums and prunes and raisins. So it's a lot of dry fruits and dried leaf things going on. And so we wanted to spark it up a little bit to get a little bit more New World quality. And the reason we added 10% Cabernet Sauvignon to the 90% Sangiovese is to give it this little extra kick of raspberry jam or strawberry jam. And you can almost smell that raspberry jam. It's coming from the Cabernet, which is blended into this wine. There's also no oak in this wine, which is also pretty rare for some Chiantis. And so we're really taking pride in showing off the characteristics of the varietal. And I think that's very important to us, just like it's important that we're not using chemicals, pesticides, and fertilizers. Or the fertilizers that we do use are derived from nature. So
yeah, there's the rules for Chianti are that it has to be at least 80% Sangiovese, and then you can put other grapes in there to complement the Sangiovese, but the Sangiovese is always the core. And this is what you're doing with this wine, is adding some Cabernet, and it's a very red fruited Cabernet, which generally to me means maybe a slightly cooler climate than Napa or places where you get these heavy black fruit flavors. But yeah, it gives it maybe a little more body, maybe a little more fruit, and maybe even a little bit more structure to it. But definitely complements the Sangiovese, which tends to be kind of medium bodied and maybe a little high acid. And then lighter fruit flavors and some of those floral components you were mentioning. But for me, a more fruit forward profile, maybe a modern style of Chianti.
Which is great because this wine has less than 2 grams of sugar per liter. So, which is, really awesome. This is only a 50-acre organic farm plot that we're growing these grapes. So and they're all handpicked, these grapes. So we take a lot of attention in the actual production of this wine. We destem the grapes when they come through. There's a maceration period for about 10 days before we start the fermentation. And the reason we're doing all that is we want to extract as much flavors and fruit from that grape to show off that style of wine from that region.
And what would we pair with this? You're going to make me hungry, I know. So
anything tomato-based, I want to say lasagna, fettuccine, Ferrari, but really anything that's tomato-based sauce, but also Chianti for me goes incredibly well with cured meats, with beef stews, with grilled chicken, grilled salmon. That smoky flavor that you get in grilled barbecued food comes through in the style of Chianti. Chianti has this kind of earthy, herbaceous quality to it that actually complements a lot of those kind of smoky style foods. And the acidity from tomatoes kind of really lift this wine up and makes it taste a little bit more fruit forward than it really is.
Yeah, it's definitely more medium bodied and not, I'm going to say it's medium in a lot of ways. When we talk about structure and flavor profile, it's very medium, which it sounds maybe negative, but it just makes it so versatile that it's not overblown. It's not too acidic. It's not too tannic. It's not too fruity. It's not too anything, which means that it's super versatile. And for me, kind of like this kind of Chianti, again, $12, $13 is the perfect Tuesday night pasta, burger, pizza kind of wine.
Exactly. And because of that sandy clay fossil deposit soil, it really does have some great, tang to it as well. It's got this great acidity and tannins that really kind of stimulate your palate when you're eating food. So this is definitely a wine that goes with dinner and lunch. All
right. That sounds awesome. I'm in. I'll be right over for dinner.
I know.
Let's see. Where we want to go now, Mr. Charlie?
Let's do some there are the vineyards. Look how beautiful that is. Those are lush. That is, the end of spring. You can tell the beautiful lushness of all those leaves. But yeah, this is right outside.
Yeah, you can tell by the trees that you're in Tuscany here, and those trees back here for sure.
Gorgeous.
Wow.
We need to go, Lee, and let's invite Lucy.
We'll invite Lucy. Let's bring her. She's every time we do a tasting, she's pulling bottles and out there selling it. So we're doing our business here today. We're having a semi-private general sales meeting with Austin today.
Look at those grapes, though, how ripe they are, and they you don't see any leaves. These are all been hand-picked. And you can see that wood vat in between the two stainless steel vats. And that's actually just the vat that we actually put the wine in, the grapes in before we transfer to stainless steel. So there is a slight bit of oak contact, but it's so menial that it doesn't really come through with the actual wine.
Yeah, well, those barrels are completely neutral and used over and over, so
exactly
nothing there. But very typical for the region are those type of oak barrels that we've taken a look at through the 20-odd tastings. Very typical for Tuscany. You walk into any Tuscan, any small to medium-sized Tuscan winery that has some modern equipment, and you see that kind of stuff alongside the stainless steel. So, Mr. Charlie, pasta. We kind of talked about that a little bit. What are you cooking over here? You with me, Charlie? Uh-oh. We lost you there for a second, buddy.
I don't know, internet connection, something. But yes, I am an avid cook, chef, like my mother. I'm actually not as good as my mother, but she has taught me well. And I love making fresh pasta. And I believe I am making chicken piccata in this picture. And so this is one of my favorite dishes to make. My daughter, Annabelle, who loves garlic and capers, anything pickled, and lime and lemon juice. So it's really a simple dish. You know, you got garlic and the capers and the white wine. I always use Pinot Grigio in this dish, about 1/4 cup. And so being that we were making this dish, my mom, being a chef, was very impressed with my style of cooking. So she took a photo, and we are enjoying this with the Spritz cans, believe it or not. So we were having a diet, and so we were trying to figure out a healthier way to drink because of the richness, because you have to put butter in chicken piccata. It's a must. And so to balance that out, we had our Spritz cans that we used with this particular course.
Well, I think that brings us right into the next topic of conversation.
Bam. Booyakasha. Get those cans, only 250 milliliters. You know, I mean, we're talking less than 3 grams of sugar, like 5% alcohol. I mean, this has all the bells and whistles, vegan, gluten-free. You can skydive with it, or made with organic grapes. I mean, you can probably fit at least 8 of these small cans in most women's purses. So they're perfect for soccer games and all that good stuff, like, boating, golf.
Charlie, we jumped into this really, really quick. Let's back it up for people that may not know what we're really talking about. Everybody knows what a white wine spritzer is, or am I just too old? I think people know what white wine spritzers are, right? So it's club soda, splash of club soda on top of your white wine. And we all know what White Claw is. I'm not that old. And we were thinking, hey, there's got to be a better alternative than drinking that flavored, whatever it is, fermented cane sugar. And there's got to be a better alternative. So we're in the wine business, and we have cans, and we make alternative things, and we can have some fun with it. So we made a genuine white wine spritzer that you can have in these cute little 250 ml cans, just like you would be made sitting on a deck somewhere and enjoying it. Austria, it's super popular. We talked about that with Jan. And we also made a rosé white wine spritzer, and we sell them in 4-packs for around $16, $17. And they're organic, right? We're using organic grapes. We're using organic cane sugar, just a small amount, like 2-3 grams, but it hits all the same markers. What we do with the 4-pack. What happened to the 4-pack? It's right behind Carissa, but read off all those points on that 4-pack there.
Bam. I'll read it off. Ready? Here we go. 90 calories, vegan friendly, 2 grams of sugar, no artificial flavors, sweeteners, gluten-free. Big love right there. There's a lot of love in that little 4-pack, man.
So, I would love, and it's what, 5.5% alcohol?
Yeah, 5.
So it's something that we can potentially, people that are looking for a more healthy lifestyle, that are looking for, I drink a lot of wine, but you can't drink the same volume at 12% as you can at 5%, no matter what kind of tolerance you have. So this is an alternative with lower ABV, very low calories, very low sugar. And again, that gluten-free, all that good stuff that people that are drinking White Claw might enjoy without the artificial flavors and artificial sweeteners out there.
This is pure, clean-cut fun.
Yeah, it's authentic and genuine, and it comes from an actual place that might have been manipulated to be kind of like the Zima of the 2020s.
Gosh, I miss Zima.
Now I'm old, right? It's that Zima. So, Charlie, you ready to shotgun a can with me?
No, not on film. No.
It's only Facebook Live. Nobody's watching.
I mean, if we had the full strength cans, I'll do it.
Well, Do you have any cans there? Are you going to taste?
I'm going to open one up right now with you. Or are you doing the rosé or the white?
I'm going to do both, my friend.
What? I'll do the rosé then.
All right, you do the rosé. I got the white can open.
You guys ready for this wonderful noise right here? Oh, yeah, baby. It sounds like when you open a PBR. It's almost more fun than opening a PBR.
I'd say more fun. And the other thing is, we talked about it's made with organic wine. So we're making it with organic Inzolia, which is from Sicily. And we're making it with the organic rosé that we sell in the keg. It's the same juice that we sell in bottle and keg or can. So it's not like we're making it with fermented cane sugar. It's the real deal, right?
Yeah, it's all about the live life, love life, Tiamo life. I mean, I love this because you can smell the strawberries and the raspberries. I can smell a little bit of dried rose petals. This is the rosé I'm talking about. And I just love it. It's not too abrasive. It's very easy to drink. The bubbles are still quite fine, like our Prosecco. So it's just a really good complement to many different scenarios. And I'm not just talking about meals here. I'm talking about Frisbee parties, golf parties, boating.
We call them in the industry drinking occasions. So
drinking
occasions. I think the kids call it crushable.
Crushable, yes, with social distancing.
Yeah. And it's a real product. So as a wine geek, we don't want to overthink this stuff, but I do get that pear. I get pear, apple, a little bit of lemon, and a floral component that is from the Inzolia, no doubt.
Yep. It's a beautiful wine, the white. And both of them are. But like I said, I think the full concept, not just with the name that means, I love you. So it is not only a perfect wine for makeup, breakup parties, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, all that good stuff. But this is also a wine that doesn't have all of the mumbo jumbo that's not good for you. It's just pure, unadulterated, passionate farmers and, passionate people that are trying to make a product that you can enjoy with lots of different, moments of life. I think that's one of the great reasons that we got into this business.
Yeah, well, the core, I think, to all the master wines is authenticity and making sure that we're delivering something that's from the land and maybe something that you might not have been exposed to, but if, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but we're bringing you something that we all think, you guys think especially, is genuine and comes from a place of where you've traveled and where you've seen and what you've experienced. And you and your family, between the three of you guys, let's just leave it to your parents and you alone, have got 175 years worth of industry experience.
Yes, and I don't think that we could have got to where we are without the other 140 years of experience from Yale, Adam and Jordan.
Yeah, let's pop back in. I've got a little nod to. I got some spritz on my computer, so I'm having a hard time with the.
Don't worry, it's organic spritz, so it's not going to hurt your computer, my friend.
Let's keep it in context. Okay, so here's Mr. Melvino.
The best time to enjoy a can of wine.
Yeah, Captain. And with Jordan Sager here, and of course he's enjoying a can. And it doesn't have to be fuddy-duddy. He has some sort of koozie, beer koozie on there. And
Captain Sager, I love that. One of my favorite pictures.
Yeah, outside, that's obviously Chicago in the summertime.
Yeah. My dad was Mick Jagger. I swear to God.
He's got a little Mick in him for sure.
He does.
So Charlie, anything else we want to mention? I wanted to, before we go there, let's drop, because this is our last official national calendar tasting. I wanted everybody to see how you can keep up with us. I kind of introduced it in the beginning, but you guys, for all your brands, seven brands?
Six wines.
So we have a domestic brand called Kin and Cascadia, XM Bordeaux, Les Charmel French, Montgrave French, Tiamo, and what am I missing?
Les Charmel.
Les Charmel. So a bunch of different brands that you guys are working with under the Master Wines umbrella. So go to masterwines.com. And then you can click down and drill down into each one of those brands and learn the story and the people behind it, because every wine, even though I call them brands, every wine has a story with people, with real land and real farmers behind it. It's not just some made up stuff where we're buying juice off the broad market and dumping it into a bottle and calling it ourselves. So a lot of, as we talked about, genuine authenticity, there's authenticity to those brands. The Wine Cellars website, Wine Cellars Facebook, which is the same hashtag as Wine Cellars Ltd on Twitter and Instagram, and of course the virtual tasting group, which is don't forget 265-165-3965-111-692.
Oh my gosh, wine will not help you remember that.
I said it real fast for those of you that weren't recording. So
one thing that I did want to mention is that I think for all of those of you out there that are watching, I think it's a real passionate, wonderful thing that people are still out there supporting restaurants where they can. This is a small knit community of people that employs thousands of people in America that are struggling tremendously right now, and all the help that we can give them, we should give them. The restaurant business has been a big influential part of our business. You know, for having somebody tasting our wines with food in a restaurant is a much better environment than usually when they, are in a fight with their husband or wife and they bring it home and they're just eating mac and cheese. So it's a really important part of the industry, and whatever you can do to support your local restaurants, please do. And with all the love that we have, the Sager and Master family really do say Tiamo to all of you wine lovers out there. You guys make us what we are, and you are more important than you can ever imagine.
Yeah, without those guys, us guys, there is no us, right?
Right. Yeah, you guys make this fun for us.
Yeah, and us being so tied to restaurants, whatever you're comfortable out there doing, please try to support, and we'll see you out on a patio somewhere drinking Spritz.
Definitely.
Well, Charlie, we kind of almost started this with you, and I feel like wrapping it up with you feels good, feels right. So
I love it. It's a good love sandwich right there, man. I'm glad we're the bread.
Cheers, Charlie. Let's tell everybody out there to be safe, enjoy Tiamo, and Tiamo to each other.
Tiamo, everybody. Thanks, Lee. Love you guys.